So what happens when your company's most valuable asset, its data, is suddenly at risk? Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the biggest challenges any business can face, a data breach. We're going to show you exactly how to move from that moment of crisis to being back in control. This is your playbook.
Okay, let's just imagine it for a second. You get that call, that email, that horrible sinking feeling in your stomach. Your company's data has been breached. And look, your first instinct, it's going to be panic. But a calm, structured response is what's going to save you. Those first few hours are absolutely critical.
You know, it's helpful to think of it like a silent home invasion. It's not always some loud, dramatic smash and grab. A lot of the time, organizations don't even realize there's a problem until their most important data is already gone, copied, changed, or just exposed. The real damage is often done way before any alarm bells start ringing.
So what is a personal data breach, really? Well, according to big global standards like the GDPR in Europe, it's not just about hackers stealing stuff. It's any kind of security failure that messes with personal data. That could mean it gets destroyed, lost, changed, or even just seen by someone who wasn't supposed to see it.
And this is so important to get. Breaches come in all shapes and sizes. Yeah, we all picture some sophisticated hacker in a dark room, but honestly, many breaches are just down to simple human error. Accidentally sending an email to the wrong person, leaving a company laptop in a cab, or clicking on a sneaky phishing link. Every single one of those is a potential data breach.
So when it happens, whether it's a huge cyber attack or a simple mistake, what's your best line of defense? Well, it's not something you come up with on the fly. It's a plan you should have made months, maybe even years ago. We're talking about your data breach response plan.
This right here, this is the game changer. Having this plan ready to go is what separates the companies that recover from the ones that just spiral into chaos. This document is your playbook, your lifeline in a storm. It's what takes you from that initial "oh no" moment of panic to a calm, structured, and effective response.
And a huge piece of that plan is knowing exactly who does what. You need a predefined incident response team with roles that are crystal clear. You need your IT security folks to plug the leak, your legal team to handle the regulations, management to make the tough calls, communications to manage the story, and HR to deal with any internal fallout. This team has to be ready to go at a moment's notice.
Okay, so what does this playbook actually look like when things hit the fan? Well, pretty much every effective response plan boils down to a simple 4-step framework.
Contain, assess, notify, and review. These 4 steps are the universal formula. You'll see this same logic in advice from data protection authorities all over the world. This isn't just a nice idea. It's pretty much the gold standard for how to handle a data incident.
All right, step 1, contain. This is all about damage control. The second you know there's a breach, your #1 priority is to stop the bleeding. You have to do whatever it takes to prevent any more data from getting out.
So what does containment actually mean? Well, we're talking about taking immediate and decisive action. It might mean pulling affected systems completely offline. It could be forcing a password reset for everybody in the company. Or it might even mean physically locking down an office if a device has gone missing.
Okay, so you've stopped the leak. Now it's time for step 2, assess. You've got to quickly figure out what just happened. What was the root cause, which systems got hit, and most critically, what specific data was involved, and what's the potential harm to the people it belongs to.
And listen, this is the most critical part of the whole assessment. The focus has to be on the risk to the individuals. Could this leak lead to someone's identity being stolen? Could they lose money? Could it wreck their reputation or even put their personal safety at risk? The answers to these questions determine everything you do next.
Which brings us to step 3, notification. This is often the most public and the most legally tricky part of the whole process. It's time to grab the megaphone.
And you better believe the clock is ticking. Under really strict rules like the GDPR in Europe, you have a razor-thin deadline. You've got to notify the authorities within 72 hours of realizing you have a serious breach. 72 hours, 3 days. That is no time at all when you're in the middle of a crisis.
And the stakes for getting this wrong? They are massive. The penalties for not complying are getting bigger and bigger all over the world. Take India's new Data Protection Act, for example. Fines there can go as high as 250 crore rupees. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 30 million US dollars. Yeah, the penalties are no joke.
So who exactly are you notifying? It really breaks down into 2 key groups.
First, you've got the official regulators, the data watchdogs. And second, just as important, you have to inform the individuals themselves, especially if the breach could seriously impact their rights and freedoms.
Look, a good notification isn't just an email saying, "We're sorry." It's a tool to empower people. It has to clearly explain what happened and what kind of information was involved. It needs to tell them what you're doing about it, and, most importantly, it has to give them clear, actionable advice on how to protect themselves. Things like changing their passwords or keeping an eye on their bank accounts.
And that brings us to the final step. And honestly, this might be the most important one for the long run. The immediate crisis might be over, but the work isn't done. This is all about turning a really painful experience into a much stronger defense for the future. Step 4 is review. And let me be clear, this isn't optional. It is absolutely essential. You have to do a full postmortem to figure out the root cause. Was it a weakness in your tech, a broken process, a gap in training? Every single breach is a tough but valuable lesson in how to get better.
So this learning process, it has to be super systematic. You need to dig deep to find that root cause. Then you use what you learned to update your policies, improve your training, and beef up your technical security. And you have to document everything. I mean, everything. This isn't just about preventing it from happening again, it's about being accountable.
Which really brings us to the bottom line. Just like the privacy commissioner in Hong Kong said, good data breach handling makes good business sense. It's not just about following the law and avoiding fines. When you handle a breach well, you protect your reputation and you can actually build deeper trust with your customers.
So, we're going to leave you with this one thought. That data breach response plan you have, if it's just sitting on a shelf collecting dust, it's basically useless. It's not a document, it's a fire drill. It has to be practiced, tested, and updated. So the real question isn't if you have a plan, it's when was the last time you actually practiced it? Because when that alarm sounds for real, practice is what will make all the difference.